What's up, folks? I thought I'd make a second video for today, one that's not so powerful, so upbeat and happy, because it's not about us here. You know, Sundays, like today is Sunday. Sundays is the day that we speak to our family and friends back home. We get onto Facebook portal and we sit there and we phone everybody and we do video chats and we check in on how it goes. And I can tell you something. South Africans are generally very upbeat and very excited, and you know, people that can take anything in their stride. But I'm starting to see it with everybody that I'm speaking to, that the electricity situation in South Africa is now really starting to take its toll on people. You know, my mom was saying that they have, like, on average 8+ hours a day now, 3 times a day for the last, I don't know, 2-3 weeks, she says, and it's absolutely a pain. And you know, it's hard for everybody. Like, for instance, she said she's now stopped keeping stuff in her freezers and in her fridge because the food just starts going off. She's now moving towards dry foods and things like that, because with the power going off 2 hours, 2.5 hours, then 4 hours on, then 2.5 hours off, then 4 hours on, what happens is that the refrigerators are not actually getting around to refrigerating cold enough, or the freezers are starting to defrost, and it's becoming an absolute pain in the ass. And of course, you know, the problem is that these power outages are also in the mornings when people are supposed to make food, or in the evenings when they're supposed to cook dinner, and it's like, it really is harsh. Everybody is buying power banks and power systems, backup systems to drive to at least drive lights and some of the stuff. But now the problem is that you can buy your inverter pack with its batteries and everything, but on some days the power goes off so often that the inverter doesn't actually get time to charge, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then, of course, the other thing is, sorry, I'm just thinking about this whole thing. It's just crazy. Anyway, yeah, so the inverters don't get to charge. And then, of course, the other thing is electricity. Quite often when they switch it on and off at the main supplies, what happens is it spikes. So now things are starting to break, electrical appliances. I know that the insurance companies in South Africa has now said that they are not covering electrical appliances that blow or break anymore, because of the power going on and off. So my mom was saying people in her complex are losing freezers and TVs and I don't know what all, you know, things are breaking because of the power switching on and off all the time. And it just keeps on going, you know. The one lady in my mom's complex, she's 90 odd years old, I think. She actually, you know, the power went off and she tried to walk to go to the bathroom or something, and she fell and broke her arm. It's becoming a real pain in the ass. But the crazy thing is, you know, we think about we think about what it does to the people on the ground and in your house. I mean, it's an annoyance if you don't have power. It's an annoyance if you can't cook food. It's an annoyance if your appliances breaks and things like that. I mean, some of my friends actually, they wake up, they set their alarm clocks because they know when the electricity is going to go off. So what they do is, before it goes off, they switch off all their appliances, and after it comes back on, they go switch on all their appliances. So they wake up in the middle of the night to do that and stuff like that. But anyway, what I was trying to say is that, you know, it's an annoyance at home level if you don't have that. But it's not, you know, it's not the end of the world. The problem comes in with the bigger effects of all of these power cuts. That's where the real problem comes in, you know. This one person that my mom spoke to, she was saying that she works she works at various hospitals. I don't know, she's got some task there. She I don't know. She works at a number of hospitals, and she says that they're seeing more and more people with tummy aches and diarrhea and stuff like that in the hospitals, because what's happening is people's food are not keeping, because their refrigerators are off for 7, 8, 9 hours a day. And they, you know, so the food chain is not secure anymore, you know, and it's not just in their own refrigerators. A lot of stores, yeah, the bigger shops, they've got generators that kick in to keep their fridges or their freezers running. But some of the smaller stores and some of the smaller shops, they don't have the money to kick in these big generators and to keep their stuff cold. So what you now have is you've got food that's coming through a supply chain, even from the farmer, where it is like heating up, cooling down, heating up, cooling down, heating up, cooling down, and that actually causes the food to be not as good as it should be. You know, it can cause harm. It's the time for things to go wrong. You know, farmers with the milk farms, all of these people are highly dependent on electricity, and suddenly food production is starting to suffer because we don't have electricity. Production of products, factories, everything. I mean, just think about the workings of your city. Can you imagine if the power goes off? Yes, it's a pain in the ass that you don't have electricity in your house. But what if the pump station that operates your sewage stops working and suddenly your crap started running out in the streets? What if the water the water purification plants that make sure that your water that comes out of the tap is drinkable, what if they stop working and they don't have electricity? In Joburg, what's been happening in certain areas is that the pumps that pump the water up to the water towers for distribution to the households, they can't get ahead because the power goes off so often that they don't have enough time to fill the tanks, and now there's water restrictions. You know, hospitals, I mean, it's just the impact of this damn electricity in Eskom is just so big, and the only thing that the government there seems to be doing is to argue about it. I mean, there was recently the CEO, they put a new CEO in place of Eskom, which is the power utility, for I think he was there now 2 years, 3 years, Andre de Ruyter. And then, you know, the guy actually went on TV the other day and he said it's not fixable. You can't fix Eskom because there's just so much corruption and so much crime going on behind the scenes of people stealing assets and just draining the coffers and you know, that it's impossible. Of course, he had to flee the country and now the government is suing him and I don't know what all. There's big issues around it because of this explosive interview that he had where he said, look, it's not possible to fix this because with the government, well, he actually called out the ANC. With the ANC, it's not possible. They just using it as a piggy bank, or some ministers or high-level guys are just using Eskom as a piggy bank, and, you know, it's just not going to happen. So it's actually quite sad when you think about it. But it's not impossible to fix it. The only thing that needs to happen is that they need to open up electricity production in South Africa to the private sector. Because Eskom, I don't know that they're ever going to get it fixed. But I tell you one thing, leave it to a bunch of South Africans and they will get it fixed fairly quickly if the government steps out of the way. But anyway, so it's just one of those. I just had to get this off my chest. It's actually really, really sad. Makes me even more glad that we are here. But yeah, I really feel for friends and family and all of you that are still back in South Africa. I mean, of course, I know that there's certain areas like my sister's daughter lives in an apartment in Pretoria, and they never have load shedding because they're lucky they're around some of the hospitals. So what they have been doing is they're trying to keep the hospitals going, but obviously they can't switch off the electricity of the area because that's not how the power grid is laid out, and just keep the hospital going. So if there's a hospital or a couple of hospitals in your area and you're on the same grid, your grid doesn't go into these rolling blackouts. So that's great. But then, of course, you know, some other people, they suffer more. Of course, another thing that's been spiking is the crime, because I mean, you can imagine a country where crime already is a big problem, and now suddenly you have like 4.5 hour periods of no electricity. Alarm systems where the batteries can't last through the anymore. They just don't charge. I mean, we all know how a battery works. You've got the recharge cycles. Now the problem is, if your power goes off 3 times a day, you start using that cycles up and the battery deteriorates. So eventually the battery doesn't charge enough to keep everything going throughout the night. And then, of course, the other big issue with the crime is that in South Africa, one of the things that happens quite often is people steal the electrical cables, the copper wire for the metals and stuff in them. And, you know, it used to be a very dangerous job because you would go and have to cut off a live wire and try and steal it. Now the power goes off, so when the power goes off in certain areas, the guys just pull in and they just steal all the cables. And then so when the power does come on, there's no more cables to actually distribute the power. That's the one thing my sister's daughter, that they never had any power cuts or rolling blackouts in the area. But they did not have power last week from Sunday night at 11 o'clock till Thursday afternoon, because somebody stole the electrical cables in their area. It's a sad situation. Really is a sad situation. But, you know, we believe that at some stage people are going to actually turn around and go, well, screw this. This is just not working. And hopefully the government goes, okay guys, go out there and get it fixed. There are solutions. There's ways to fix it quickly, but, you know, not going to happen in the current rate. Anyway, folks, you all must have a good one. Cheers.